Welcome, Pete, to Strange Brew Podcast. And this is an absolutely fantastic time to catch up with you because you've got two really important things in the Boomtown Rats calendar. You've got a UK tour as well as a new compilation, a new best of.
There's a new compilation, yeah, it's called The First 50 Years. So hang on for the second 50 years. It's called The First 50 Years Songs of Boomtown Glory. And it's a great album because it's got all the hits in it, it's got everything in it, and it's got a couple of extra things, and it's really a good, like when you hear the record, you kind of think like we weren't like that bad. I mean, like good bands, some great tunes, and we've actually achieved quite a lot as a group, like more than I realized. Like listening like to that album, I kind of realized it's not a bad body of work. I've seen worse.
And is this the first retrospective that also includes material since the Reformation about a decade ago?
Yeah, it is. Yes. Yeah. Well, I know we did an album just as lockdown happened. We did an album called Citizens of Boomtown, which is a completely new album recorded in the studio with the whole band, which was fabulous to do at that stage in our careers. And it's a great album, actually. I really love it. It's obviously one of my favorite Rats albums.
And in relation to the live tour, I think it's a particularly special date, the one in London on the 31st of October, because that seems to mark the 50th anniversary of your first ever gig back in Ireland. Is that
It's actually
correct?
the first ever gig, which is back in Ireland. It'll be exactly 50 years to the day because it was on Halloween night as well. And we played because a couple of us were architectural students. And so we played actually in the architectural department. And we started off as the Nightlife Thugs. And about halfway through the gig, Geldof rubbed the a blackboard out and he put the Boomtown Rats. So we actually played half a gig as the Nightlife Thugs and then ended up as the Boomtown Rats. But that was our first ever gig. So that's exactly 50 years to the day to the Apollo Hammersmith gig.
And over the 50 years, the group has just achieved so much, but also the shift in the shift in society, the shift in the economies of the UK and Ireland. So much water has gone under the bridge.
It has, yes. I mean, it's when we go back to when we started life in Ireland, especially, was so dramatically different. I mean, it was like we were run by the church, and it was a very like stifled place, and we wanted to get out. I mean, our ambition was to get out of Ireland. I mean, that's why we joined the band. I mean, back in the late 70s, you had two choices. I mean, if you wanted to escape in some way in Ireland, you either became a footballer or a pop star. So I'm not great at the old football, so I went for the pop star thing. So that's why we kind of, like we wanted to get out of Ireland. We wanted to do something more, and Ireland like had a very bleak future then. Now, when you go back to Ireland, you go, wow, it's a fantastic place. It's a liberal place. It's an enlightened place. It's a well-off place. It's an educated place. It's a good place to be. And although I don't live there anymore, if I was growing up there now, I would stay there.
Yeah, there's a bit of a case to say that in terms of the two countries, roles have been reversed to a certain extent. So,
Maybe a little bit, yes, I know. But mind you, in Ireland, there's a sort of a very strong anti-immigration thing and
oh, that's growing, isn't
right-wing
it?
thing as
Yeah.
well. It's not as strong, but it's weird to see like Irish people complaining about immigration. I mean, they're the kings of being migrants. They've gone everywhere. I mean, you can't go anywhere in the world like without seeing like a kind of like an Irishman appear at the bar.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Like in relation to the very early years of the Boomtown Rats, it seems that you guys kind of almost learned on the job in terms of basically getting instruments and just playing together and then building up your sound.
We did, yes. It was very much, I mean, that was very much a period of clearing out the old and bringing in the new. Like we'd had these big like massive bands in the early 70s, like who'd becoming like enormous, like dinosaurs, like Yes, and can't remember the other ones, Led Zeppelin and all these. And so this kind of in conjunction, like with the punk thing that was happening in the UK, although we were never punks it was the same like microcosm in Dublin where there was these bands who'd been around forever and it was and that was it. So we came along as a completely new and different band, and we hardly could play it at the beginning. I mean, I decided to play bass at the first rehearsal. You know, I mean, I physically hadn't touched a bass guitar like before I went to the first rehearsal. So that's how it was, and it was good. It was clear. It was energetic. It had it was honest. It was talking about, we were like articulating like the moment, and articulating that moment now, like today, it still means something because like I think they were great tunes and much like to our delight. I mean, these tunes have become classics and standards, and still they kick off live. So we've been amazed about how like the reaction from punters at the gig. It's just insane. It's fabulous to be. And this has only been at the festivals, so we're going to start the UK tour in a week's time, and that'll be fascinating. I mean, I'm really so looking forward to it.
Yeah, there's two elements of the Boomtown Rats material that is particularly striking. Musically, it fits very well today, but also lyrically, there you can pick up themes in the material. Even Rat Trap talking, I think, to a certain extent about escape from Ireland has got parallels in terms of movements of people across countries today.
Yeah, no, no, absolutely. And songs like someone's looking at you, which is now today, like it's about X, it's about Facebook, it's about, it's about Google. So I mean, they're absolutely relevant, and sadly, a song like "I Don't Like Mondays," when that was written, that was about one of the first ever school shootings in America, which have now become a monthly, six-weekly event in America, which is so sad. But that. I mean, that's how sad that. I mean, this is a sad example of our songs being really relevant, I suppose, in some ways.
Very much so. Take us back to shy of 50 years now of when you guys got signed to a label. I think you were, as many bands were in the 60s and 70s, moved into a house together in London, I think.
We did. We came over and we moved into a house in where did we move to? In Chessington. And it was a big old like stately home. Like it was like a cartoon like rock band like moving into a stately home and living there. A bit like the Monkeys, only we weren't and like we weren't like created like the Monkeys, but it was the same thing, like where we all lived together, we all did gigs together, and we did that for about 2 years. And it really worked. I mean, the record company moved us in there because we were all Irish. We had nowhere to stay. They thought this is an easy way to keep us all together and allow us to be creative. And it really worked. So we lasted there for about a year and a half, maybe 2 years. And then we
And
went our separate ways. We got girlfriends and things like that, and a car.
you were hooked up with, is it Mutt Lange or
Mutt
Mutt Lange?
Lange. Mutt Lange did the first two albums, and Mutt is an incredible producer. He's very obsessive, very detailed, very he'll run you into the ground, but you'll end up with a great record at the end of it. So we were kind of relieved when we moved on from Mutt. But I mean I learned, I mean I produced myself a bit over the years, and I almost learned everything from Mutt. I learned what a producer does, how it works, and I learned a lot about music and arrangements and all that sort of thing from Mutt because Mutt was great, and he produced some great records for us.
It must have been quite early on in his career, consider I mean, in the 1980s into the 90s, he was basically the biggest producer of them all. So was
Of
it one
course,
of his first
we were
works
one
or?
of his first bands. He'd come from South Africa. He was South African, and he came over to London, and we were one of his first bands. I can't remember the other bands he did, but he did do other bands. But yeah, he went on to be a mega producer, absolutely mega. But yeah, we were one of his first bands.
And your first TV appearance, was that Mark Bolan?
Mark Bolan, yeah, shortly before he died, sadly. And I mean, I've often seen that clip of us on it. It's so cute, and he was such a lovely guy. I mean, he was absolutely a really nice guy because we were all sort of, punky, and he just charmed us, completely. Like we were his fans, but I mean, we all were Mark Bolan fans anyway, so it was kind of easy to be charmed by him because he did great music and great singles. In fact, we ended up using a producer later on that produced a lot of his records.
Was that playing Looking After Number One? That was your debut single.
That was our debut single, yes, was, yeah. And we played it on that. So that was our first TV show and our first trip to the UK.
Did you get Top of the Pops over in Ireland?
Yes, yeah, no, I grew up with Top of the Pops. I grew up watching Top of the Pops every Thursday, 7:30. I was in front of the TV and a lot of my family were. It was an important part of of the week and everything was either before Top of the Pops or after Top of the Pops. It was really important, a really important. I mean, it's sad to see it, time moves on, but it was an intricate part of a lot of people's younger lives.
That must have been an amazing moment, ringing back home after your family and friends over in Ireland have seen you on there.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I remember ringing up when we got to number one with Rat Trap, and I was actually back in my hometown, which is a small place called Ballyjamestuff, which is in the middle of Cavan, like in the middle of nowhere in Ireland. And I was back there on a visit, and I was in the local small hotel. I remember I had to go and find a little phone box, and I went to the phone box and I rang London, and I got the news, number one. Came back into the bar of this hotel, said I'm number one in the charts. Big cheer went up in the bar. I mean, they'd never seen this before. They'd never seen it like any Irish people on like Top of the Pops, like not to talk about like being number one. So it was a big and it was a nice moment to be in my own hometown just on that night that happened.
In terms of albums, was it just a case of what songs did you have many songs for your debut record?
We did, yeah, we had, yes. I mean, we didn't have an enormous amount, but we had like we were able to pick and choose. We've been writing for a year or so before that. And so when we started with Mutt came out to Chessington, to the big house in Chessington, and we had a big rehearsal room, which used to be a ballroom, I think, in this house. And we were permanently set up in this ballroom. And he came down several times and sat with us and went over. We didn't know much. I mean, we knew about choruses and verses and that sort of thing, but we weren't musically educated. And he very much taught us and rejigged the songs to make them tighter, more focused, and that kind of thing. And it was great. Like it was great to do that. It was such an enjoyable way. Like when you're young like that and you're working with somebody like that and you have no other contacts and you can absorb yourself in that project. Although we always absorbed ourselves in the project, but that was my first experience of being completely absorbed in one important project, which was that record.
And over the first few albums and handful or so of releases, some of your material in terms of writing came out like clockwork, for example.
Yeah. Yeah, well, Bob did a lot of the writing, which is absolutely fine because he's a great writer, a great lyricist. And I was always keen to do a bit of writing, and but I don't write lyrics, so you're kind of dependent on the goodwill of other people to like work with their music. So I started to bring stuff to Bob, and he was very open to it. I think I don't know if like Clockwork was the first one, but after the first album, I always had like maybe one or two on each album, like Clockwork, like which was a single, and I think it went top five. And then I had Banana Republic, which was another single, which went top five or top. I can't remember at this stage. And I've had several other tunes on the record, and then this last album, um, Citizens of Boomtown, about four or five of the songs because I also produced the record as well, which was a great thing to do. It's weird to come back reform a band and then go from being the bass player to the producer, an odd change of job. But it worked really well, and the other guys in the band were more than happy to allow me to be the producer and to run the whole thing, which was good. And they didn't they yeah, it worked really well.
Yeah, I guess you're older, mature, and wiser this time around.
Yeah, I suppose there's a bit of that. We'd all been around the block, we just reformed a year or so before that. So it was nice. I mean, that first time us getting back together again after such a long time was kind of a weird, strange experience because you're kind of getting back into a room with three ex-wives. And they like what you hated about them is still there, and what you loved about them is still there. And when you start to play together, you suddenly see, fuck, this is
Yeah.
what it was about. Because there's always that special connection. Because the first day I played bass guitar, I played it with Simon Crow, my drummer
Right.
in the Rats. So I learned to play the bass guitar by playing with Simon Crow. So that's that kind of connection will never happen anywhere else. So when we got back into that room together, that connection happened again. And Gary was there, and Gary's sound was so unique and so big and so arrogant and so outrageous that it was just great to be back in there. Bob was the same, like Mouthy Bob. I was there on the bass. We were happy to be back there again. And so that's how we got back together again. And then a couple of years later, we were doing a full album. So they were happy to allow me to really like take the chair because I produced quite a few albums during the sojourn between the two bands, and it just really worked.
And in relation to the current lineup, I think there's still three of you.
The
Have I
three
heard?
of us, there's still Simon and there's Bob and myself, and then there's Alan who was in the solo band with Bob and then came on to the like Rat. So he's been kind of on keyboards for way 20 years. So he's kind of like, yeah, like he is a Rat. And then we've had Darren who's been years with us as well. And then almost new boy would be Paul Cudford, a great guitar player who's played with Holy Holy and
Yeah.
a lot of other bands.
Going back to I Don't Like Mondays, was that your international breakthrough in terms of countries
Yeah,
across the world?
well, it's the biggest hit, and it's kind of annoying because everywhere you go, if you go onto a TV show or you do anything, they'll play "I Don't Like Mondays." I mean, everybody knows "I Don't Like Mondays," and they forget that there's a lot of other hits. We had about 8 or 10 like top um, 20 hits, and Mondays was the first breakout. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, it was a hit in Europe, it was a hit in Australia, it was a hit in Canada, it was almost a hit in America, but then it got banned. So it was a world, yeah, yeah. It was the breakout song.
In terms of America, it's interesting because I've had Paul Rappaport on before. I think he was involved in the promotion.
Yes, well, he is. Well, he's quite a character, Paul, and he's coming over in October, and he'll be at two or three of the gigs. He's going to go to the Apollo gig, and I think he's going to the Glasgow gig, and himself and another a woman called Mary Beth, who worked with us in the American days, and they both kept in contact with the band and have become friends over the years, and are two fabulous people, and they're going to be with us again in on this tour for a couple of gigs, which would be lovely, actually.
You mentioned it briefly in relation to Mark Bolan, but you did work quite a lot with Tony Visconti.
Tony was okay. Tony, he only did one album with us, and we worked well with him. He's a nice guy. We never, I mean, we always never really after Mutt, we never really got the guy who worked as well as Mutt did. But Tony was the closest, and Tony's quite a talented guy. And we went to Spain, I remember, to do the record, and he was good. He was good, Tony. He didn't do Mondays though. It was, somebody else did Mondays, but he did the rest of the album, and it was good to work with him.
Was it V Deep?
V
You
Deep,
worked.
yes, yes, V Deep, Five
That's
Deep, or
five
five.
deep. Yeah,
Yeah,
five deep. Yeah, of
yeah.
course. Uh, that's the album that's got Banana Republic on, I think.
It does. I God, you're asking. I'm so shit at this. Could yes, yes, I think so. Yeah, it does. Yes, yeah, yes, of course it does. Yeah,
By the mid 1980s, you'd been together for a decade with
yeah.
also the shifts in music, and I just assumed that it was just time for a change.
It was. We'd been over 10 years doing it. We were a bit burnt out. Other more major events had taken over. It had changed from the 70s into the 80s. We were a band from the 70s, and then Band Aid happened and Live Aid happened, and they helped maybe to finish us off a little bit quicker. But they were like such important things. Like it didn't matter. Like Live Aid, like, which of course, like the Rats by definition were intimately involved in from the Band Aid record through to the final moment of Live Aid. So that was okay. I was happy with that. I mean, I was happy with. I mean, I knew that once the Band Aid record had got feet and the Live Aid thing was going to happen, I knew that was going to be the end, like the demise of the Rats. But what a way to go, and what a great reason to be pushed to one side. But I always kept very close contact with Bob, so I was very happy to see it all happen. I feel honored that I was there for the Band Aid record. I feel honored that I was there at the Live Aid, which was such an incredible thing to be at. And I mean, the thing about that Live Aid thing is that at that ecstatic final moment, like when we played that final song, um, Feed the World, the lead singer, like with the Rats, was alternatively Freddie, Elton, Bono, Bowie, George Michael, Sting, and our normal geezer at the front, Geldo. So, and I remember at that moment thinking, I need to remember this because this will never happen again. And of course, it won't really happen again. But it was such a unique moment and such an incredible thing to be honored to be involved in and to be able to talk about.
Yeah, 'cause you did play a bit with Bob on his solo work, didn't you?
I did, yeah, yeah. I played in a solo band for a good few years, which was a nice thing to do. It's good, musical, great band.
And as you said before, you also did production work.
I did production work. I worked with Chris Hansard at the Frames. I'd worked with Nick Cave at one stage. I worked with Tricky, and I worked with a lot of other people. I worked with a lot of French. I had a lot of big, big French records, which was kind of good. It kept the mortgage well paid. I worked with a French artist called Renault, who's like massive in French speaking part of the world, and that was good to do. So yes, well, I had like once I left the Rats, I decided I like to be a producer and managed to succeed to do it for about 5 or 10 years, which was good, and it was a very satisfying job, difficult but satisfying job to do. And then I also joined Bob's solo band. So I mean, I've had a very full year. My life has been lived in a world of rock and roll, and I'm so lucky to have been in one of the great rock and roll band, I mean, as well. So, you know, I cannot complain.
You mentioned Citizens of Boomtown.
Yeah.
I guess these days with technology, being able to record more flexibly than having to go into a major studio, do you foresee recording any new material with the Rats?
No, we've no plans to actually record new stuff, but we do have an awful lot of unreleased tracks because when we did Citizens of Boomtown, we recorded about 40 songs.
Really?
Yeah, and so I've still
Wow.
got about 10 or 15 tucked away, and some of them are really good. So I may take them out and dust them down in the near future. Because when we went into the studio, I mean, we did it in the traditional way. We went into a studio and we moved in like day and night, and we worked solidly for about 2 weeks, just putting down songs, putting them down. And the minute, like to the annoyance of the band, like the minute like one song was barely put down, I would move on. Like I wouldn't allow them to even learn it too well because I wanted that raw like excitement. I mean, that you get in the early days of a song being performed by a band. So once I got a good take on a song, even if there were mistakes, I would leave it and that sort of thing. Because with the technology today, you can have a great performance where there's a big cock up in the middle of it. And with technology, you can fix that. So you still have the great performance and with the repaired cock up. So I kind of went for that. So once a performance was good, I kept it, regardless of somebody might out of time or somebody got the chords wrong or whatever, that sort of thing. And then in post production, you're able to fix all this sort of stuff and still keep the raw energy of the studio. And I think that's how Citizens of Boomtown ended up working so well and sounding so energetic and so now and being like sounding like it's a record that made that was made like today, but had the energy and rawness of maybe the Rats from the late 70s.
How does playing live now compared to 40, 50 years ago?
I much prefer it. I love it and I really enjoy it. And I think the one of the reasons is because when you get to a certain age, you kind of don't give a fuck, you
Yeah,
don't like we don't have to make it anymore. We're not trying to make it. We're not trying to dominate the world anymore. We're out gigging and enjoying it. We know our instruments, we know our people, we know everybody. We've been round the block several times, and you get to that. It's not a nirvana, but it's a nice level where you can concentrate on the now, being on stage, enjoying it, playing your instrument, connecting with the punters, and I mean, of course, it was exciting, and I was young, and you were enjoying it, and you were making mistakes, and you didn't care, and you blundered on, and you had a confidence and an arrogance that you don't have now. But now it's just more in the now. Like when you're on stage, you are there. You're not thinking of, oh, like why aren't we number one
yeah.
in Uganda or whatever. You're there and you're enjoying it, and I think that comes across, and that's why I think the punters just smile and just love what they see and go away so happy from our gigs.
Yeah, you always had that element of humor in the group, didn't you?
Yeah, yeah. No, we never took ourselves too seriously. And I get bored when I hear other bands or people in bands talking about their albums and how great. I mean, I've just done it, I suppose, but I mean, how serious they are. But yeah, we did this, we did. I enjoy everything around it. I enjoy the rock and roll lifestyle. I enjoy being there. I enjoy the actual like musicality and that sort of thing comes lower down my list of important things that I enjoy.
And then, do you have any wider projects that you're working on? We've obviously a lot going on with the Rats, but
No, we're concentrating on this because this has been a big year. This has been a really big year, and we've done so many festivals, and now we're doing this tour, and so there's nothing else. I mean, I have no time for anything else at the moment. But maybe next year, I'm still up for projects. I'm still up for doing things, and who knows what will happen next year.
it's a bit of a testament to the legacy and how popular the Boomtown Rats are today that you can still tour to packed crowds, release
Yeah,
the compilation. I mean, that's pretty amazing.
it is. Yes, yeah, no, it is absolutely. I mean, this tour. I mean, we're a bit fearful of putting a UK tour out and doing it in fairly big like venues, and but half of them are sold out,
Yeah.
and the other half are sort of within like a couple of hundred people have been sold out. So if you do want tickets, don't sit around, go out and get them because there may not be that many left.
And you've got a website where you can find out further information about the album and the live dates. And I understand that's theboomtownratsofficial.com.
That's the one, yeah, yeah. And there's a big fat picture of Geldof on the front, and then when you go to live, you see a picture of me looking
Oh,
fairly
well,
cool, I'd say. Yeah, I look pretty cool there. Oh,
brilliant.
my hair is now grey, but otherwise it's the same me.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your time. It's great
It's
to
been a pleasure, absolutely.